Welcome to the Growing Up Bananas podcast, where we dissect the perks and tribulations of being bananas.
It's hard being yellow when I feel so white.
My name is Ethan. Alex is sitting next to me, and in many ways, I'm sitting next to her. What do we have in store for today?
Today, we're lucky enough to have a great friend of the show come join us. He's the owner of Roningrooming and also happens to be my dad's sister's son, Richard. So let's get into it.
Yeah, really looking forward to having Richard on. It's going to be a very insightful chat. A lot of different things I think you and I don't know about him. So let's get him on now then.
This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Be sure to check out Podcast of the Month, Barrel Age Flicks, and HILF podcast. Links in the description.
So it's been a long time coming, but we're very lucky to be joined by a great friend of the podcast and owner of Roningrooming, Richard, or Rich Tran on Instagram. Our chats may not always be equality, but the hair's usually on point thanks to this guy. So welcome, Richard.
Thank
you, man.
So, man, first question always, do you consider yourself a banana?
That's a tough question because I was originally a banana before I went to McGregor.
Yep.
Became really Asian when I got to McGregor.
So it's kind of changed over time and
It has, yeah.
yeah, cool. Well,
Yeah.
guess we'll be able to unpack a bit more of that as we go. So let's start at the beginning then, your childhood. So firstly, I know the answers, but siblings, for those who don't know.
Yeah, William and Manda are two. Younger brother and younger sister.
Cool. And where are your parents originally from?
Vietnam.
Do you know much about like how they physically got to Australia? We're sort of talking off camera just before, but you said not really too much that you've asked them or they've
So
told you.
Dad originally came first to Australia. He travelled all around Australia before he met my mum. And my mum came a little later and then they eventually got married.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Did they ever talk much about like when their time in Vietnam growing up then, or was it kind of a memory that they've kind of thrown in a box and
Not so much. Both of them never really talked much about their past. I just know that my dad, for one, he came via boat. Essentially, he wasn't really, how do you say it? They had to lie about his age coming onto the boat.
Yep.
And he doesn't. He to this day he actually doesn't know his real age either.
yeah, right. So you
Yeah.
must come pretty young or
Well, my uncle that recently came about 3 months ago, he said that my dad is roughly around 2 or 3 years older than he was supposed to be when he got onto the boat. But because he looked so young, like, he just got on. It was easy.
do you know why he had to lie about his age? Was it like, did you need to be a certain age to get in?
Yeah, he had to be 18.
Yeah, okay. There we go.
Yeah.
I guess then let's look at the childhood. So your parents obviously coming by boat during that time. Can you think of some of the impacts that it had in the way that they raised you guys? So I know talking to Alex, it was things like hoarding, going to
Hoarding's a great
garage
one.
sales,
That was a great one.
that sort of shit. Can you think of anything that you remember?
So pretty much just growing up, do you think there's anything that kind of stuck out to you that may have been due to your parents coming from like Vietnam? Like for example, like for me, it was going to the flea markets like every weekend or going to garage sales every weekend and hoarding.
Right, yeah. Yeah, we did all that stuff.
Well, I mean, I
Yeah,
did do it with
we did
you
all-
guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But is there anything else that you think that your mom or your dad did that you're like, oh, actually, like, is it because, like, is this what normal parents do?
Yeah, so my
or-
dad, this was an interesting story. My dad, he had a dad, and his dad cheated on his wife, which is my grandma, for another family. And my dad had a family of, I think, eight siblings that he has. And I think that impacted my dad as well as me, because he essentially didn't have a father figure growing up.
Mm.
And I remember my younger years, I think my dad just didn't know how to properly communicate with me. And so the way that I had to learn through my dad was through actions. It wasn't through communication. Yeah.
And then how about your mum? So, like, I know
Mum's spoiled. Mum's the youngest of how many?
like 7 or 8.
7 or 8, right? She's the youngest. And so it's hard to communicate with mom because it's always one-sided. No matter what I say, it's pretty much out the window. I think there's a hierarchy there, and yeah.
But just a bit of backstory in case our listeners don't know. I am related to Richard, so I do know how many siblings he has. So my dad is Richard's mum's older brother. So just a bit of backstory there. But was there anything else? Like, so you said your mum was spoiled because she was the youngest, and of course she probably would have been really sheltered.
Yeah.
But have you ever spoken to your mum about how she got to Australia? Being an orphan.
It was vague answers. She said she had to come because pretty much the family was all there. And so she was the last one to come. So she did uni, she did everything when she was in Vietnam. And then after uni, I think, she came over.
So she came over
okay.
quite old then.
Yeah.
Like after when like Alex's dad.
Like 20-something.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, mid-20s, I think.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So like I've obviously known you for quite a while now, and just listening to the stories and things like that, from what I can see, you guys were always very well taken care of materially. So like you guys, when you want to hear stories of you guys talking, you guys always had the Xboxes and the PlayStations and stuff. Yeah. So you had what you wanted materially. Can you think back, like emotionally, what the upbringing was like?
I think I really had a really good childhood. The upbringing was great. We spent so much time with Alex's family, and yeah, I think a lot of other people have it way more unfortunate than what we had, definitely.
Yeah, like we were really lucky that our family was so tight-knit and close, because I guess that's what they're used to also in Vietnam. Like even growing up in an orphanage, they only had each other.
Yeah.
So I think that's why our family's like so close and everything. But, with that, I'm like, did you see, like Ethan was mentioning that, we materially, I think our parents did spoil us because they didn't want us to miss out on the things that they didn't grow up on. Is there anything else that you think, you wish that you had a bit more of from your parents other than the materials?
Just communication. I think that's number one. Like even to this day, I wish I could communicate with them properly. But because of that huge language barrier, I can't express through words how I truly feel with them. It's all vague, I can only give them 2 cents, but that's just like surface level stuff. Yeah.
So back to, I guess, the hoarding stuff. So obviously there's a lot of families that do like to accumulate things. In your understanding, why do you think that is? Have you ever thought about it? Why a lot of the immigrant families
It's just a poor mindset. They always feel like they had a lack of everything. That's why they tend to hoard everything. And when they lose whatever they've hoarded, they feel like they've lost something. That's just, typical mindset.
I remember Alex was telling me a funny story about your mum. So when COVID hit, and I think I mentioned this on the podcast before, she was saying that your mum went to Costco and bought like 3 full trolleys worth of everything.
She went hard. Yeah.
and I was laughing, and I was like, what the hell? Like, she's just one of those people. But then you think about it, like, they've come from a war-torn country.
Yep.
When they hear war, pandemic, like whatever, you probably would
They're in
stress
preparation for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like for us as the next generation, it's kind of just, okay, well, that's where they're coming from. Kind of makes sense now.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I know whose house I'm going to if I need anything.
Yeah. I guess there is a plus side to having your parents as a hoarder, but not when you're living in the household though. That's 2 different things. Yeah.
Feel ya.
Yeah.
So before we sort of move on to like your schooling and things like that, when it comes to religion, so obviously your dad, he's a Catholic. Your mum, as far as I know, is a pretty devout Buddhist. what is it like growing up? Because obviously Alex and myself are in that same boat where we're two different religions. We're kind of making it coexist. What was it like for you guys?
It was one-sided. I think my mum had more of the influence when it comes to like beliefs and stuff like that. So my dad, I didn't know he was Catholic until a little later. So I would say like maybe when I was like 15.
Yeah, right.
I didn't know because my mum was just adamant about pushing the Buddhist beliefs onto me, you know. Super, super controlling. I literally had no say. Yeah.
Do you think that kind of drove you away from it? I know for me,
It did for a
other
while.
people. Yeah.
Yeah. With all those things my mum did, pushing me, controlling me, for me to feel free, I had to act in rebellion.
Yeah.
I became a little bit of a delinquent in my high school years.
Yeah, which we'll touch on shortly.
Yeah.
And then I know as well, like you've always kind of been a bit of a spiritual guy, so energy, things like that. Where did that come from? Was that trying to just explore different
That's a
things?
good question. Yeah, I was in a dark path of my life. I became very, very spiritual when I was on a fuck ton of drugs. Can I say that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Experimenting, we'll say, as a younger man.
Yeah, pretty much. I think it was in my early 20s. I don't even know what I was on, but I was on a lot of stuff. And there was a point in the process when I was high as shit that I had a bit of an epiphany. I realized where I was going, I was like, it was just a dark place. If I kept going where I was going, I knew it would just lead to a darker path.
Yeah.
So I think that was when I started barbering. I started to really focus on what I truly wanted in my life. So that's when it made the shift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, we'll definitely touch a lot more on that as we go through. So I guess let's then talk about, so you mentioned just before that you were a banana when you were younger.
Mm-hmm.
Things changed when you moved to an Asian school. So take us through, I guess, primary school from like a racial aspect. How did you guys fit in there?
Never felt like we did, really. Even the people that I hung around with in primary school, they were all multicultural. One of them was Aussie, but yeah.
Which school did you go to?
Boronia Heights.
Okay.
So all the Australians stuck with the Australians there, and I remember all the multicultural people, which was very few, stuck around together as well. Yeah.
And how did you like, a lot of people have come on the podcast to say that they didn't really realize, they saw the groups, but it like didn't really impact them. Did it impact you, having that divide?
I thought it didn't. Not until later in my life that it did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because at the time, you don't really pay attention to it.
Well, you just kind of get through it, right?
Exactly.
It's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
Until you sort of reflect on it.
Yeah.
Did you experience much bullying or anything like that at that age?
100%. You know, your typical Ching Chong China, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. I remember even trying to go in, meeting new friends when I was going, you know, when you go to new grades and stuff like that, and you have to go, sit into a new class or whatever. Me trying to make new friends, it was just, as soon as I said, hi, how you going? It was just like, oh, get away, China, man, or Ching Chong China, I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, right.
It's just racist from the start, yeah. Because where I came from was a very bogan area, Logan, you know, very known for that, so.
Logan.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I guess as you got older, how did you sort of cope with it? Would you try
I think it's a blessing in disguise, man.
Yeah.
Like I'm tolerant. I'm very tolerant to it now. Like I don't care anymore, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that those who do tend to bully just don't know any better about themselves. I think I don't know, they're probably going through some shit in their lives and they just need an outlet to make themselves feel better about themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, it usually is. It's usually just ignorance or just lack of
Yeah.
education.
Exactly.
Lack of world understanding where
Yeah.
racism comes from, usually. I guess then, so let's talk about moving into high school. Did you sort of stay around that area? When did you move to McGregor?
I think I remember the day. It was at my old house.
My bad. My
I
bad.
was 14. I came back home from school. I remember I came home and Alex and AFM and Walter were all there. And I remember my mum having a discussion with Alex's mum. And I didn't really pay too much attention to it. But then after they've discussed whatever they was discussing about, my mum was like, "You going to McGregor?"
Can I just say that it was me? I was like,
Yeah, no,
15.
I was getting there.
I was gonna say that I was 15, but like, I feel so bad. But I was like, I was 15, and like, all I said was, "Oh, it's a really good school," because like, you know, like education's really important. I think like for me, even though I'm 15 years old, I have always been like that elderly sister figure for like the younger cousins, and so I felt like, oh, it was my duty for some reason to tell your mom and like my mom, like, hey, it's really important that they go to McGregor. Like, you know, I was told that it's a really good school, really good education, as like in comparison to Park Ridge, which was where you
It was pretty trash.
where you were attending.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, you were saying, sorry.
You pretty much just took away from mum. Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
So you had obviously you're 15, so you've sort of developed your friends and
Yeah.
your groups.
Yeah, I wasn't ready to let go of any of that. It was a huge surprise when, Alex's mum was when Alex convinced her mum to tell
I was
my mum.
15. I don't even know how I was able to convince his mom, but anyway.
I was pissed when I heard about it. I was in a fit. Like, yeah.
My bad.
Yeah, I didn't even have time to say bye to my old friends. We literally just up and left.
I did not know that even
Yeah,
happened.
that just happened.
That's why he's hated you for 20 years.
Yeah, no. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, right. So I guess, so that all happens. That's another thing to cope with, which is never ideal at that age. What were the expectations? You know much about the new school that you were going to go to?
No expectations. I didn't know that it was an Asian school. All I heard was the academic side, which Alex explained. It was a good school, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, sweet.
Yeah.
And when I got there, it was so crazy because I've never seen so much Asians before in my life.
Yeah.
That it's ironic that even though being Asian, I felt so outside it because I felt like I was super white at the time. I was super Australian, you know.
That's exactly how I felt. So out of place, right? Like
Yeah.
it's weird. Yeah.
So Alex got her like large girl group of friends, and that kind of like saw her through the rest of it. What did you sort of rely on to fit in?
I was chilling around with AFAM.
Right.
Yeah. I was chilling with AFAM first, and then he introduced me to his friends, which still then felt really, really awkward being around Asians. But, I mean, new dude and new school, I really had no choice, so I had to try to fit in.
AFM being my brother, so his cousin.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I don't know if I've ever said this, but when I went to McGregor, I did actually hang out with all these girls at the start. I actually hung out with my brother, AFM, as well.
Everyone knows that.
I was hanging out with Anthony and his friends and our family friend, like Yui, because he was also there.
Yeah,
Who's in your grade?
He didn't stay for long. He only stayed there for a year.
Yeah, but like I think for me, it was just gravitating towards people that you know, and it was safe.
Yeah, just
So I think-
familiarity. Yeah.
Yeah, so for you, sounds like it was the same.
Yeah. That was
Yeah.
the first day, I
Yeah.
remember. Then eventually, funny enough, even then, I wanted to make friends on my own. And I was trying to find white guys. I wasn't trying to find
Interesting.
Asians,
Interesting.
Just
yeah.
because I felt like, I don't know, I felt like I was white. Like I wanted some familiarity, right? But yeah, even then, that there wasn't any white dudes. So eventually, I had to make some friends in clan. Yeah.
So paint everyone a picture of Richard at 15. So obviously, I play a few sports with you guys, and you and William, pretty athletic,
Yeah.
very capable guys. Were you into sports back then? What sort of things were you into?
Played tennis growing up. I played a lot of tennis, almost 3 times a week.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and then during Park Ridge days, I played a lot of footy and soccer. I both those sports a lot. Before I moved, and I stopped all the I stopped everything really when I moved to McGregor.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything I knew from that Park Ridge life was out the window.
Thanks, Alex.
My life completely changed.
15-year-old Alex, so stupid.
I reckon if I stayed as well, I would have been a good tennis player. I stuck around.
Oh, God.
And that's
Could've
what
made it.
William keeps saying that. It's like, if you stuck around, you could have been someone, man. I'm like, whatever.
But why did
Cost the
your
family millions.
I know, but why did your mom stop you from playing tennis?
It wasn't a matter of her stopping me. It was just so far to travel back, because my club that I played at was at Park Ridge.
You didn't want to play at a
And it was
different
like
club?
35-minute drive every time. We're not doing that.
But
every
yeah,
time.
but did you don't want to play for a different club? Because they had tennis at
We did. I
McGregor.
did try, but then those.
It just
Yeah,
wasn't the same.
I just couldn't fit in. It was just, being an Asian trying to fit in. It was.
My
Yeah,
bad,
I already
my
had
bad.
established a group of friends, because the people that at the tennis club at Park Ridge, they also went to Park Ridge. So I already had some level of connection there. Yeah.
So, because it's a bit different, I think, for a guy versus a girl to fit in with a different race. I know for me, I probably would have struggled similar to you at the start, just because you're coming from playing a lot of sports, and let's just generalize, a lot of Asians don't really play a lot of sports in general.
Yeah.
What was some of the main differences in hobbies that you saw from, I guess, your old friends who weren't Asian versus the new guys who you started to hang out with?
That's a huge one.
Be different shows.
It's a different
just
one, because
different
like
everything.
I had to fit in with people playing cards. Cards, handball, just typical Asian stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like Yu-Gi-Oh, chess, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon. It's almost going back to the roots, because obviously I grew up with that sort of stuff as well,
Yep.
which I didn't mind. Then my bad gaming habits started kicking, because all Asians did play games. And then that's how I actually started connecting with all of the other Asians. It was actually through gaming.
Yep.
Yeah.
Would you say that you felt like a sense of belonging doing those activities?
Yeah. Yeah. Because when I was growing up at Park Ridge, not many people play games.
Yep.
Whereas the Asians that I met in McGregor did.
And then obviously the racial bullying probably dried
They
up.
completely went away.
Yeah.
As soon as I went to McGregor, all that bullying kind of went away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess obviously quite a few negatives moving, but also a lot of positives to take out of it.
Yeah.
say the
With the
sense of
duality and everything. So I think because I wasn't getting any bullying anymore, I think there was a part of me, the young me anyway, felt like a rise in ego. Like I felt like I was belonging. I don't know. And then there was the Asian in you. There's a bit of a hierarchy kind of thing. As young as I was at the time, I thought I was better than everyone. As young as you are, 15, 14, 15, I started to, all the things that my parents did, I can't really blame them, but everything started to level up in terms of my rebellious side. I started to act in rebellion, thinking I was gangster in a sense.
Yeah.
Trying to fit in with amongst the other Asians, because they were on that path as well. I don't know where to go.
That
with
is
this.
so funny that you say that, because like I remember like your group were kind of like somewhat hardcore, but like it was okay because like I knew you, so then I knew your friends, and then like you have like my friends. If you saw them, you're like, oh, the total geeks, like the total opposite. So it's kind of like for you.
Just FYI, I never thought of that, but yeah,
No,
we never
I know.
thought of geeks or anything like that.
I
But
know,
yeah,
but I'm saying like for the girls, like
Right,
we're just
okay.
always like studying. That's all we really cared about. Like didn't care about the boys. But again, that was just my group. But then like when you look at like a lot of the other groups, like there were groups the guys would just be like hardcore. Like I don't know how to explain it other than hardcore, like earrings in the one ear, dyeing their hair, like doing like styling.
I
their
think
hair.
it's because at that time there was a lot of Asian gangster movies coming out at that time. I don't know if you remember, but there was like The Young and Dangerous. That's an old school movie. Young and Dangerous, Crow Zero. That's based off an anime. All those things was happening around the McGregor time, and I think all the wannabe Asian hard dudes were getting influenced by that, and everyone was trying to one up one another. This is how it was back then. Yeah,
Which obviously can lead to
bad
shit.
Bad there. Yeah.
So I just wanted to touch then again on the acting out, and you're saying kind of ramped up at that age. But looking back now, can you sort of think what it was? Again, you said it's shit communication from the parents, probably from your side as well a little bit. You couldn't tell them what you were feeling. And then it just kept escalating to a point where you said sort of got out of
Yeah,
hand.
because my parents were still controlling around that time.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it was. I think it was just a matter of whatever I tried at that time, I was just trying to break away from my. I think I was just losing myself, really, just trying to be someone who I wasn't, just to fit in somewhere,
Yeah.
like a sense of belonging. Yeah.
And then what was the relationship like with your parents at that stage then? Was it
Pretty
very
bad.
much...
I think especially around that time, I was a very angry kid too. So I started to lash out a lot more often, as you would when you're 15, 16.
Yeah.
You've developed a sense of self, so to speak, at that time, and don't know any better. Yeah, I rebelled a lot around that time. I started smoking around that time. I started doing all these drugs at the time as well. So, yeah.
So I know, just talking to you like recently, the relationship always pretty rocky with your mum. Like, how long did you go without speaking to her at one point?
The longest was like almost 5 months.
And you guys live together in the same house.
Yeah, it's way better now. I'm learning to accept it, like for whoever she is now. Like, just gotta let it go.
Because we were talking, and every time I'd go get a haircut, I'd be like, "Hey man, you spoke to your mum yet?" No. Like 4 or 5 times later, he's like, "Oh yeah, we did now." And you sort of said it's because you're both stubborn. So
We're
you're
both
very
stubborn.
similar people.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, my mum plays like I don't. It's hard to explain, but I don't want to accept it. But there is a part of me that I can see myself like in my mum.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She probably sees a lot of herself in you too.
yeah,
So it just becomes a stalemate.
yep. And that's something I wish I could communicate with my mum with, on a deeper level, but I can't, just
Yeah.
because of the language barrier. Yeah,
So your Vietnamese is good though, isn't it?
it's trash.
Did you went to Vietnamese school?
Who said I was good at it?
I feel like you guys went to Vietnamese school longer than us.
We went to. There was 3 years. 3 years of my high. 3 years in my high school years. We went to Vietnamese school. Sorry, I went to 2 Vietnamese schools. One in Dara and one in Glenara, and both. No, sorry, the first time I graduated. The second time that I went to the Glenara one, I got kept down twice. In grade 2.
I'm so surprised that you guys went for so long. Because we only went for like 1 semester, and there was not even 1 semester, 1 term, and then we were done.
So my parents were just controlling. They just wanted me to be academically smart. A lot of pressure around that time as well. They took us to heaps of tutoring. I flunked out on all of them.
Did you do it on purpose, or just because like?
I think so. I feel like at that time, I kept telling myself, "Oh, I can't do it. I'm not smart enough." I think that manifested itself, and I think I just went with it. So I feel like at that time I was unintentionally just not choosing to be academically smart. Yeah.
Because you guys only talk to your parents in Vietnamese, right? Do you talk to them in
No.
English?
I talked to my dad in English.
Oh, okay.
I try to speak Vietnamese with my mom, but sometimes I have to use English to sort of express myself in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so I spoke about your relationship with your mum then. How does your dad fit into all this? Because from what I know, your dad is a very strong, I wouldn't say aggressive, but he's a strong man. How was he taking all this when you were acting out? Like, what was the relationship like there?
Oh, I don't even know how many times I've got whacked by my old man. Too many times to count.
Your dad is so scary when he's
He was
angry.
super, okay, when I was growing up, he was he was an angry person. I think that manifested itself because my dad had so much rage and anger when he was growing up, trying to look after his siblings of 8.
Yeah.
And I think it manifested to the person who he was then, which in turn influenced me to, I think he was just channeling out bad energy just towards me. He didn't know how to like cope with certain things. If I was complaining, he wouldn't know what to do. He'd just smack me. Just stop complaining. just told me to stop complaining.
Like, I remember when we were little, and if you guys, being the only girl in the family, and you guys wouldn't let me play games or whatever, the first thing I did would be like, I'm going to tell my uncle on them.
I was so scared of my dad.
And uncle was really scary. Like, he was so scary that, like, because he was so sweet to me, because I'm the girl. Like, he was really sweet. He'll be like, oh, okay, it's fine. And all of a sudden, you'll just hear him, like, raging at the boys. And they're like, fine, here, play. And then none of them wanted to play with me, because, of course, that's fair enough. Like, I went and told on their dad on them.
You use my dad as leverage against us. That's
Your dad
some
was,
savage
like,
shit.
He loved me. Like, you know, he loves... Like,
You were an evil woman back then, hey. You were so evil. I remember
They
everything when we
wouldn't
were
let me
young.
play with them. But no,
Yeah,
but I
it's-
think, hey, like, seeing how your dad was back then, has he changed now? Like, now...
Oh, 100s. He did a 180 flip. Like, you can definitely tell he's become a very, very humble person now. And I think that really happened when I saw him cry for the second time in my life, which was when he went to a Catholic retreat. He did I think it was a baptism kind of thing or whatever. He came out and he was just in tears, and it was just I still remember that day. It was very clear. Like, I never see my dad cry. So
Yeah, no.
the only time I saw him cry the first time was, and I didn't actually get to see him properly cry, like tears in his eyes, because he was faced the other way. But that was when his mum died, and I think, on the second time that he cried, I think that's when he changed.
How were you?
I was in my mid-20s, I think, at the time.
Okay.
Yeah. That was pretty hectic to see, you know. Yeah.
Especially see a man who's like so strong, as I said, and
Yeah.
you've never seen him cry. It must have been pretty powerful.
Yeah, it was.
So that's cool that he's, like you said, he's taken the 180 and he's relaxed himself. Probably not raising kids helps too.
Yeah, 100%. You would know.
Yeah, can be relaxed sometimes. This episode is brought to you thanks to Roningrooming. If you're looking for a fresh cut and some quality chats, hit up Richard at Roningrooming, located at Wills Gym, McGregor, and give him a follow at roningrooming.au on Instagram. Let's get into it. So, man, we're talking about the language and being able to communicate somewhat to your family. You obviously got a lot of family back in Vietnam. What's it like when you go back and visit? Do you feel at home, or how is the dynamic?
I wouldn't necessarily say that it feels like home, because it's obviously not home. Although, when I do go back, I do feel like I've been missing. Like, how do you explain this?
There's like a missing piece.
Yeah, it's like a missing piece.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I still feel like a banana, because, you know, coming from Australia and not knowing that much Viet, yeah, it's a huge cultural difference. They're a lot more traditional. Like, I've got a cousin over there, and he tries his best to make me feel like, you know,
Part of the family?
part of the family kind of thing.
Is this the one that we met?
Yeah, that
Played
guy.
volleyball?
Yeah, that guy.
I didn't even know you even had cousins until the first time I met him in Vietnam, which I was like, what, 19? Was that the
Yeah.
first time you also met him as well?
No, yeah, I think. Yeah. But then again, my dad never really talked about his side of the family to you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any relatives on your dad's side in Australia?
No.
Oh, okay, then that's fine.
They're all in Vietnam. And then I got another uncle that's in France.
Oh, see, I didn't even know that. I was going
Yeah.
to say our family's so tight knit, and yet I didn't even know you had family
Yeah.
like in Vietnam,
Yeah,
other than like on like your mom's
Mom's
side.
side. Yeah.
Oh, your dad's side. I had
My
no
dad's side,
idea.
not so much, yeah. All his sides over there.
So he just never talked about them growing up. You reckon there's a?
I think it's because of what his dad did to him. If we can actually touch on to that. My dad never really talked about his side of the family, due to his dad. And I didn't find out that I had a grandpa until I was 18. Yeah.
I guess you never asked about it. No one ever spoke about it.
When I did ask when I was younger, he would never give me a direct answer. He'd just not say anything. He'd just be silent. So I just assumed, yeah, he may have died or something. Something tragic happened that my dad didn't want to talk about. But
Yeah.
something did tragically happen, and it wasn't the way that I thought, though. So
knowing all the shit that like your grandfather like put your family through on your dad's side, and all the things you heard about him, when you finally heard that he was alive or there was a person, like, what were you feeling? Were you like, this is cool? Or were you like, oh, no, screw this guy?
No, I thought, what the fuck? For the longest time, I was so confused. I was like, what the fuck? Like, the idea that I had in my mind of my grandparents just didn't exist. And to all of a sudden find out that you had a grandpa, I didn't know how to feel. I was just like, this dude here is my granddad, you know? Like,
yeah. And it's an old age to like figure it out as well.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's cool, but it's
it's cool, but it's weird. It's cool because my dad forgave him.
Yeah.
Actually, on the day that we met him, it was that day that my dad actually forgave him.
Shit, man.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Because this is pretty recent. This is only like a few years ago, right?
Dude.
You said it was 18.
Oh, 18.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
We went to Vietnam around that time. Well, wait, no, it wasn't 18. Maybe 19. 2011. Yeah, for
Yeah.
For like
Oh, so that was the time I met your cousin. I didn't.
Gung's family
Yes.
wedding. I think that was the time. When was that?
Oh, yeah, that was 2011. Wow. Okay,
2011?
mind blowing. Because
Okay,
again,
yeah.
that's when I told you I had only met your cousin for the first time, and I didn't even know that you had family.
Yeah.
Oh, so you guys went to visit your grandpa, and I didn't even know.
Yeah.
It's somewhere between.
Yeah. It was so awkward. I remember being so awkward.
But your
was
cousin
very
was,
shocking.
What do you say, man?
yeah.
Like,
Well,
what's the first interaction with him?
Well, there's obviously a language barrier. So he was trying his best to communicate with me as well as I was trying to communicate with him. But it was just small talk. It wasn't anything. What do you meant to say?
That's what I'm thinking. Like, yeah, what would you say?
I didn't know what to say. I was
Trying
like,
to think.
Is there a language barrier for you because your mum is from South and your dad is from North, and the accent is very different, and even some terminology is really different too?
so my dad, all right, before he met my mum, he had a strong Buck accent, North accent.
Yeah.
And then my mum didn't like it. And so
Yeah.
he slowly started changing the way he talked, and eventually it's the way it is now. I can't explain it, but it's definitely way more
Like you can
easy to understand
yeah.
than it was before.
Like if you're not from North, yeah, I can understand your dad, the way that he talks.
You can tell.
Yeah, I can
there's
tell. There's a bit
things,
of an accent, but it's not like really strong because I
Yeah.
really struggle as well when it's North. It's really heavy.
Yeah.
But just for everyone out there as well, your mom did say she would never marry someone from North Vietnam. And next minute, she married someone from North Vietnam. So just putting it out there, just don't put it out in the universe because it's going to happen.
Well, that's funny because even though my dad is from the North,
yeah.
he was raised in the South.
Oh, even more
Yeah, so that's
interesting.
ironic though. My mom said that, but I didn't know she said that, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah.
She did. That's so funny.
Yeah.
It's interesting hearing about like the family dynamics and stuff, but I guess it's like that from a lot of Asian families where it's broken and then the generations are mixed up because there's so many kids
Yeah.
and all that. So I think it's pretty standard for people who know much about it. Let's sort of pick the timeline back up then. So we're speaking about school where, you know, you might have stumbled across the wrong sort of crowd or influences and everyone was trying to be a bit gangster back then because of various reasons. We don't have to talk too much about your darker times unless you want to, but take us through then coming out of it. You said you started...
Like coming out of high school, or what do you mean?
Yeah, coming out of that period where you said you just felt like you were going nowhere.
Like how long was that dark period for?
Hmm.
Can't believe I didn't even know this. And I was like, your cousin.
Yeah, because I was too gangster to tell you.
It's like every time I'd be coming to your house or family parties, I'm like, oh yeah, Rich is just on his computer playing games. Like,
Yeah.
Pop pills.
and he's on popping pills.
That's a good question.
So I guess like coming out of school then, let's take it like sort of not year by year, but time by time. So coming out of school,
coming out of school,
what was the plan?
just trying to be hard, dude. That's all it was. And we developed a group actually as well. We called it the EBH for the longest time.
What's
What
that
it
for?
stands for what?
Ethnic Brotherhood.
Okay.
Yeah, so the people that I was around was mixed. So you had like a bit of Wog, a bit of Vietnamese, a bit of Filipino. there's always one white dude, right?
Yep.
Yep. So that sort of made it like, you know, the ethnic brotherhood. That's what we call it, the EBH. That didn't really last long. But from there, which I think I was like 19, 20 at the time. From there, we went clubbing and doing all that. You get into that scene and you meet people and you get influenced by certain people as well. And yeah, pretty much in a nutshell, it was just that phase of my life was all a mask, really. You know, just trying to be someone who you really weren't. Yeah. And
were you like working, studying at that time?
Dole bludgeon. I was on the dole. And then I was studying, but not really studying. Like I was signed up to the courses, but I would just flunk out. I'd just go to the city, play some games, probably smoke up, do some drugs or something, you know?
Yeah.
Because I think right after high school, I finally felt like a sense of freedom. My parents weren't as controlling anymore.
Yeah.
You know, which I don't know why, but they still wanted me to study hard and blah, blah, blah. But obviously at that time, my mindset was just to have fun, you know, coming out of high school. And so I was trying to, I don't know what I was trying to do at the time, but I was trying to establish a sort of name for myself in that gangster kind of world. But yeah, thankfully that didn't last really long. So I think somewhere in my early 20s, I started to realize a lot of things when I was drugged up. There was a moment in time where like it just kicked, an epiphany kicked in. And I straight away went conscious and I realized like, fuck, I need to get out of this
So how old
position.
were you then?
I was 22 at the time.
Okay, so your dark periods are probably around like what you said, maybe starting from like 15, 16, your angry period.
Yeah, I would say that wasn't really a darker period. This was me transitioning into the darker period.
Okay.
I was still
So
kid,
more
right?
18. Okay, so from like
So
18
by the time
to
I was
22.
18, I was getting into like, I don't know. It was weekly. We got into fights almost every week. It was almost normal. That's how bad it was. To say that getting into fights was normal every week is normal. That's fucked up. You think about it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you guys the kids in the alleyway?
So I think it was like, say again?
I said, were you the kids in the
I was
alleyway?
those kids.
Okay, now I know.
Yeah, we were the
Didn't
Megro
even know.
kids
Went
in
to
the
the same
alleyway.
school. Didn't even know.
Yeah. But why would I wouldn't,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I wouldn't tell my family about this sort of stuff because it's just,
Probably wouldn't want mommy running to your mom telling her either.
well, I mean, I think I was too proud back then to say anything to my family as well.
No, yeah,
Trying to be
that's
a
fair.
young Asian gangster kid back then. I was like, nah, I'm too good for you guys, blah, blah, blah. As young as I was, you know. But yeah.
So you're on some shit high. You realize that it's not really where you want to be.
Yeah.
What's the next steps?
That's a good question. I think when I
It's not going to
started,
be an immediate thing, right? It'll be, all right, let me like ramp it down. I don't know.
Did you cut people out of your life?
oh yeah, yeah, I definitely cut a lot of people out of my life. Thankfully, the friends some of the people that was in that ethnic brotherhood, we all stuck around, and they've all become better persons themselves as well. There's obviously a few that was still in that world. Yeah, we had to let them all go. Yeah. We just had to. We realized, well, I realized, I think at the time I was trying to influence or telling my friends as well. Obviously, they didn't see it at first, but because they had a level of value, they started to slowly understand. It took time. But yeah, I was one of the first few to realize where I was amongst the group anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, nice, man. And then I guess that's led you to this path you're on at the moment, which is so you're running your own business. The hair side of it. When did you decide that was something you wanted to try?
That's a good question.
Because I got a funny story to add once you
Okay.
tell yours.
Okay. So after going through that whole dark phase, so I actually tried to start studying again because I was on that whole self-development journey kind of grind. I wanted to figure out what I wanted to do and what was best for me. And so I think I was studying psychology at the time. through my own efforts, not through uni or anything like that. Just
Yeah.
to try to figure out myself. And I realized, maybe I could try to get into, uni, do some psychology. I had a discussion about this with one of my friends, and they were like, "But do you want to take on problems every day of your life?" I was like, "That's a good question. Not really." And he's like, "Why don't you just cut hair for a living? You cut my hair. Why don't you just do it for a living?" And I thought, at the time, because back then I feel like there was a bit of a social stigma behind being a male hairdresser. Because back then there was only just hairdressers. There wasn't barbers around.
Yeah.
It wasn't very common. And so I think that stigma still stuck around. Well, for me anyway, I thought that if I became like a hairdresser or a barber or whatever, I thought I'd be gay. I'd be considered gay or something like that, And so I neglected it for a little bit, but then also around that time, that social media started popping off. Barbers started a big thing, and
Started charging $30 a cut.
yeah, it started
became
popping
cool.
off, and I was already watching a lot of haircut tutorial videos, because I think in high school, I actually created a tutorial. I'm pretty sure you remember, maybe. I made a haircut video and stuff like that. It's all gone now. I deleted it. I don't know why. I was young. But yeah, that made me realize, I was like thinking, maybe I should just go back to my roots. I enjoyed cutting hair when I was young with all the friends and whatnot. So yeah, that's what led me into barbering world.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, because that video you spoke about before I even knew Alex, I was trying to grow my hair. So I stumbled upon it. I think I told you ages ago.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, this is the same dude. It had like almost 200K views.
Yeah, heaps of views, man.
And this is like fucking 15 years ago.
ago.
You're like, I'm like, that's my cousin. And you're like, what? I'm like, yeah, that's my cousin Richard.
I've seen this thing. But yeah, man. So like you say, you were into it back then, and you just kind of figured, all right, let's give it a crack.
Yeah.
Like even my mum seems to think that she inspired you, but I'm like, I don't think so,
No.
Mum. But my mum did say that.
She
I think
did try to
my mum
push it
did
onto
try
me,
to push it, but I think it's like, would it be like when you were 18, 19 at that time, you were like, nah, I'm not gonna do it, because like one of Anthony's friends, Tree, he was also really into his hair. So I think you guys were really into your hair at the time. So my mom was just like, oh, you should do it. And Richard's just like, nah, I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah, well, like you said, it's there was probably a little bit of stigma, and then I reckon
especially at 18.
Yeah.
Yeah.
all these barbershops popped up. They started they doubled the prices, and then it became this like thing.
Cool, like a really cool experience for men to go. Like it's a whole experience.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. Like you talk about it again later, but your shop is really cool. Like you go in there and it's like you're in another. Like when you get your haircut, it takes you into a different place where everything else kind of disappears, right?
Yeah.
For the half an hour.
For a lot of people, it's very therapeutic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people can vent out. Like I meet all kinds of strange people, hearing different stories and all walks of life. Yeah, most of the time it's just them talking about their life, or they have problems. They just want to vent out. I'm just there going, just agreeing with them, or putting in my 2 cents every once in a while.
Well, that's probably why people come back to you. So I liken hair cutting or barbering to being a wrestler in the WWE. Hear me out. Because the skills are all similar, right? You can go to a different barber, he'll be decent. Go to you, it's going to be good. It's all going to be the same, but it's the microphone skill. It's, all right, these guys actually want to come and have a chat with you, which I reckon most people, that's why they'll go to you.
Yeah.
Or their barber.
Yeah.
So as good as the hair, as good as the hands need to be, the microphone needs to be
The service. Yeah.
as
Yeah.
good. Good analogy, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
I
I
remember
mean, it got there, but yeah.
just the last thing on this stigma. I remember you saying the other day that some dude came in, you're like, oh, hey, bro. And then he was like,
okay.
mate, pretty much get effed.
Yeah.
I'm not a guy, or he's transitioning or something.
So you could definitely tell that he was a. I'm gonna call him a man because he is a man, because that's just how I am traditionally, but he is a transgender woman.
All right.
That is. Yeah, he got really sensitive when I was like calling him, "Hey brother, how you going, man?" He got really triggered by it. Got super sensitive, and then he was like, "Excuse me, for all you know, I could be your sister." And I looked at him. I was like,
But you're not.
"Can you get pregnant?"
Wait, is that what you actually said
I said
to
that.
them?
Like, can you get pregnant? And it was just an awkward haircut the whole time. Like, didn't even say a word after that.
They still stayed for the cut though, which is
He still paid because he already paid for it. It's
Oh,
a
yeah,
pre-payment
sorry, yeah.
service, so
Still
he had he already paid for it. So it was just awkward.
because I remember you said as well, like that was because you say like there is that stigma. It's probably not much gone now, but it's like you didn't want to come off as like you want to come off as
Yeah, I was actually being very
right, yeah.
polite, you know, but there are people out there just super sensitive, I suppose. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, obviously things are going very well at the shop. We've spoken about it, the balance, because obviously without you cutting, you don't get paid.
yeah.
And it's tough work. You're on your feet for 7-8 hours, sometimes listening to people's problems. How are you managing that balance at the moment, or not managing it?
I think me as a person, I think I can thank my dad for this, but I'm just generally a very hardworking man.
Yeah.
My balance, I don't think I have it really bad. That's the thing. So I try to tell myself that what I have right now, especially in my current situation, that, you know, what I have going on, it's not that stressful. So when I do feel stressed out, I look at where I am and tell myself like, it's like, you don't have it rough at all. Like I could be stressing a lot more if I had a kid or if I had a mortgage or if I had all these little things, right? So to me, to balance out, I just go home, play some games, and reset the day. It's not that stressful. I do get burnt out just because of the people. You know, because I'm seeing different kinds of people all the time, so I'm always hearing different walks of life and their problems and stuff like that. That's the part that's draining. But once the day ends, go home, sleep, rest up, I'll feel refreshed the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we were kind of talking about it the one time where we're saying, like, you know, we're told in today's day and age that men need to hustle and work so hard and no breaks and all that shit, but you need it. Everyone needs it.
Yeah.
So I guess for you, trying to balance making the money while it's there versus actually having a good mental well-being, be pretty hard to find that balance, I think.
Yeah. But like I said, where I'm at, or what I have going on in my life right now, it's not that bad. But I do understand where you're coming from. I think we all need a break from the everyday grind. Yeah. Because with anything, it's just, you do tend to get burnt out by it all. Yeah.
Let's have a quick chat about something that we talk about, which is like being a man today. And obviously there's so many guys
Very
out
political.
there.
Yep.
There's so many guys out there, the Andrew Tates of the world, who say a lot of good stuff. Maybe not all the time, but a lot of the stuff is probably correct.
Yeah.
What's your take on all that, and I guess where...
On Andrew Tate, or just
not Tate, just the whole
masculine thing
the
going on?
re-emergence of what we think a man should be.
I think what Andrew Tate has done has been, in a way, positive.
Yeah.
I think what he has done is that what he's doing right now is he's trying to get men in this day and age to get out and grind and do proper manly stuff, because this day and age that we're in right now, we're all in technology. We're all submerged by social media. You got all these things that are essentially just a big mass illusion, right?
Yeah.
I think all the social media thing is getting out of whack towards I'll get political here, but with women. I feel like women in this day and age with social media, they base their values based on the amount of followers that they have as well.
Yep.
I think this really applies amongst the youth in this day and age.
What about guys?
Guys do it too, but it's harder. It's hard because a male really, even with the amount of followers, at the end of the day, they have to grind super, super hard in order for them to get there, right? A woman, they can just look pretty.
Yeah, that's true. But my thing, like, okay, when you say
Okay.
Tate has been really positive, can I just get you to elaborate
Okay, right.
like, specifically? Because there are some things that he says that really is misogynistic, and I'm like,
Yeah,
I cannot.
I can agree with this.
I can't agree that he's a positive person. Like, I don't think anything he's done is positive, but that's because the things that I've heard that he's come out and said, I think is really misogynistic and is just not fair at all.
Right.
So just so then you don't get,
Okay, yeah, right.
you know, bombed
There are
by,
some things that I agree with him. I don't think that having X amount of girlfriends is going to make you a man, which is something he would say.
yeah,
But I think that in terms of attitude to being a quote unquote alpha male,
yeah,
I think what he's got going on there has a point. I'm not saying everything that he says is all right, but he's got a good point in terms of being an alpha male. When he talks about beta males and alpha males.
okay,
Yeah.
that's fair.
Yeah. Not his beliefs with about,
Like women
having
and their worth
5,000
and then-
girlfriends
yeah.
to be a man. Yeah, that's just a load of trash. Or even having an X amount of cars or, that all that material stuff.
Yeah.
I don't agree with all that stuff either.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fair.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I 100% agree with all that. I think like the overall message is good
Yeah.
for men, because I think in a lot of ways men have lost what it used to mean traditionally to be a man, I think. So having someone or that sort of message come out, yeah, I think it's good. My whole kind of thing to start off that was, so like for you now, how are you finding it when you're talking to other people? So you're getting so many different guys coming through. What's the sort of feeling on the ground? Are guys gravitating towards that sort of teaching, or are or I guess are they not? Because I'm sure it comes up in topic.
It does come up on topic a lot. Most of most of my clients that come in, they actually almost in a sense worship Andrew Tate. And I see that, and I can understand, because most of my clientele are young. I have. It's almost as if, because when we were growing up, right, we had Bruce Lee to look at, like all these idols, and so in this day and age, Andrew Tate is their idol.
I feel like they see
know.
him though and they just think, oh, it's this guy. He's like built, is he built? I don't know. Built, fit guy with all these chicks, all these cars, all this money. So I feel like sometimes the generation are more looking up to him because he's got so many things materialistically. I don't actually think that they're
So
listening.
I think this applies to most young men, but
Yeah.
if you will look to a mature man that idolizes him, they see that the effort that he put into build himself to where
to
he
get
is
to
today.
where he is. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
Yeah, no, that's
Because that takks work. You know what I mean? Like to get to where he is,
Yeah.
Because everyone's seeing the how do you say it? The product of his the byproduct of all of his successes, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
And then just before Alex takes you through a couple of questions for yourself at the moment, if anyone knows you, you're pretty reasonable shape. Your barbershop's at the gym, so you get to go there pretty often.
Yeah.
What's training like at the moment? Weights, boxing.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. I mean, if anything, I have no excuse not to train now.
Yeah.
Because I'm always there. Right, so I've squeezed in between my splits. Training's good. I think I've just been very consistent. It's not a matter of how I feel anymore. It's just a sense of duty that I have to do as a male, I suppose. I don't know. There's a part of me that always wants to continually push my limits.
Yep.
And I think through my workouts with boxing and gym, whatever, I think that's where I try to push myself the most.
Just try to be consistent, right?
Just trying to be consistent. Because I think if you have a great discipline in gym or whatever, you can apply this to anything you do in life.
Yeah. Do you remember what you told me the other day? You said you think helped you get shredded.
What?
It had to do with your aircon in your car.
Oh god, yeah. So having no aircon in my car, even on a summer day, I see it as training. So I would roll up the windows. It's God knows how much degrees, like 35 degrees on a summer day, right? And I would just see it as training, like a sauna for half hour from A to B, going back from work from going from work back home or vice versa. I'll use that as a means of a shredding process, so to speak.
I reckon it would actually work.
It does work.
Yeah.
Please tell me you stay hydrated because you're going to pass out one day.
I don't drink much water, to be honest. I only drink a lot of water at nighttime
Oh, what? Okay.
Is that part
because
of it?
I just don't want to piss throughout the day.
True.
It's just
Oh, because you're so busy.
because my bladder's pretty weak. So if I drink even a liter of water, I'll be chucking at least 2 pisses. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
So I try to minimize my drinking, but I still drink a lot of water right towards the end of the night. Like, the only downfall is I have to get up every 4 hours at nighttime. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not
Yeah.
ideal.
Especially when you're trying to sleep. So that's pretty bad, but it is what it is.
Yeah. And then last thing on the training, so you do like intermittent fasting, things like that.
Yeah.
So you said before you sort of don't eat till about 2 p.m. every day, and then like dinner before. How you enjoying that? You feeling like it's beneficial?
Yeah. I mean, I've always been light, so I can't really tell if it's made a huge difference.
Yeah.
I can't tell my training. Like when I get more shredded, I'm like thinking, is it because I intermittent fasted? Did I delay the way that I ate, or is it the amount of training I'm doing? I don't know. I can't really tell too much of a difference.
Yeah.
It's just that I know that whatever I'm doing right now, staying in shape is working. So I'll just be consistent with what I'm doing. Yeah.
Just more time with the windows up.
Yeah.
And then I guess, man, what's next for you? So business is going well.
That is a very tough question.
Everything's kind of getting on, I suppose, on track to where you were hoping it to be. Where do you kind of see yourself in the next few years? Doesn't mean I want 5 kids or whatever. It's like, where do you see yourself?
That's a really good question.
Take your time.
Yeah. Well, in terms of work, I do want to own a shop, like a proper barber shop. And so it's just a matter of where. I think location's always a hard part. But I do want to find somewhere where I'm currently at already, just because of where my clientele base is already established. Yeah, man. For barbering, that's it. Sorry, for financial reasons, for finance side of stuff. Kids, that's a tough question as well.
Do you want kids at some stage?
This is a good one because, like, for the longest time, I've wanted kids. I've wanted children. You know, I've wanted children. But as of lately, the last 2 years, seeing all these, you know, all the changes of the world and the influences is given to the youth today, I'm not sure where I'm at with it right now, so to speak.
Yeah, that's
I
fair.
still do want kids. It's just that I don't know if within 5 years is still, I don't know. Like, I don't know. And not only that, like, that's also still too far to think of because I still have yet to find a partner as well. You know, I don't think about like until I have a partner, then I can sort of have a bigger plan for myself. But as of right now, I'm just living day to day, just trying to enjoy.
Just putting it out there to all the single ladies. That's right. My cousin is single. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm picky,
so
just letting you know.
Do you have a type? What's your type? Let's just do a quick.
Yeah, we can do that.
What's your
My
type?
type, communication. I think the only reason why is because I could never communicate. I wish I could communicate better with my family, you know, and then also as well as seeing my parents going at it. Like they just don't know how to communicate. They just, all they want to do is prove a point.
Yeah.
That's all they do.
Yeah.
It's just I'm right, you're wrong. There's no communication.
Like,
there,
let's be in the middle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's no meaning in the way. I think that's number one for me.
does race come into it at all for you?
No. Yeah.
So you're not too
race.
concerned?
I'm not. When it comes to race, I do have preferences. I would say that white has more leverage than any other ethnicity out there.
Oh, why is that? That's interesting.
Because like I think this stems from my childhood, you know, growing up, not like having crushes on white girls, but not being able to get them because of whatever reason, right?
Interesting.
You know,
Yeah.
and then going to it, you know, even when I was in McGregor and I was getting attracted to all these Asian women, at the same time I would be like, where's all the hot white women? There'll be that'll be in the back of my mind, right? Even when I dated Asians, it was like, don't get me wrong, they're all great girls. It was all good, but in terms of preferences, I wouldn't mind a white girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I suppose culturally, most of it will disappear then. That's the only kind of thing that everyone's been talking about on the podcast is, so if you marry someone who's Middle Eastern or whatever, then the Vietnamese culture kind of ends there for your family anyway. Is that a concern? You don't really care?
Maybe.
Did you ever feel like you grew up? I know we're going back again.
Yeah, that's okay.
Because we just brought this up now, I'm like, culturally, I'm like, growing up, do you ever feel like you were well cultured with the Vietnamese culture? Just food,
yeah, I guess we were. Yeah.
Celebrating festivals or things like that. Like, do you feel like you were brought up culturally, like you got to embrace what it was like to be a Vietnamese person?
Yeah, definitely.
But that's not really a concern for you then, like partner wise.
I'd like this is very tough. I think if I were to go for an Asian, it would only be go for that reason, because of that reason.
Yeah.
Culturally.
Which I think is a big reason though for a lot of people, so don't feel bad.
Yeah.
Saying that.
Yeah.
Not to also say that like if you're a Western person, you're not open to embracing other cultures because because I mean you can easily find someone who like a white girl who's down to celebrating dirt and things like that.
I mean, hopefully they'll be open to do things culturally with me.
Yeah.
But I think it's just the fact that I never had a white girlfriend before.
Yeah.
I'm more leaning towards that side.
Yeah. Anything else?
No.
Oh, cool. So if you're a white girl, good communication, hit them up.
It's not
Roningrooming, ladies and gentlemen.
It's not a big thing. It's not a big thing.
Yeah.
I'm open to all. Really.
Oh, sorry. All girl. Let's say all single ladies with good communication skills.
As long as I have communication.
Yeah.
I don't like mundane talk because I already have that enough.
Yeah.
With someone with depth.
Nice.
And the biggest one's mind games. I hate mind games.
Oh yeah.
When we have this, when
Don't
we
date women then.
we have the game.
What? What?
Yeah.
What mind games? I don't play mind games.
Kidding.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, man, the last thing is to what you said before. Does he feel like he's got a pretty strong hold on the Vietnamese culture? By far, his family, like out of all of your cousins and stuff, I reckon are the most Vietnamese.
Yeah.
Because like you look at like when William had his housewarming. That was the first time I've ever like seen the hardness of
Vietnamese culture.
Yeah, of like a drinking session. It was like 2 p.m. and guys were chucked in the toilet. And these are like 60-year-old men. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
I've never seen that with like any of your other cousins or family.
That's because you have like two types. You have two types of Vietnamese families. You have like the really goody, like don't really drink.
Judgmental ones.
And then, hey, my family are judgments. And then you have like the other. Then you have like the other side who are like a bit more looser. Like, but my family have always just like my side have generally just always been like they don't really drink because they grew up in families where they didn't drink or so. Whereas like uncle. Yeah, he loves his social drink. Like even my dad will go. Like I'm pretty sure that's the first time we saw my dad socially drinking. Like, and my dad was.
Your dad was drinking that day.
Yeah, like one beer and he was gone.
Yeah.
See what I mean? He doesn't. Yeah.
So I definitely, if I was Vietnamese, that's the side that I would like to.
Oh, okay.
That's what I used to love when we used to go to your house and there'd just be beers and food everywhere.
Runcorn house, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That place went off.
Yeah.
Sweet, man. Thanks for all that. Alex is just going to run through quick couple of questions, sort of rapid fire. Yeah. Basically, whatever comes to mind, just say it, and then we can kind of dissect why. So,
okay.
Let's go.
Okay. Who is your biggest role model? Just looking right over here. Like, just...
It's in so many ways.
Oh, no. I was like,
biggest role model? Holy shit. I think my old man.
Nice, man.
My old man. Like, he's just how do you explain this?
Just a man of all trades, really.
Explain, right?
Like yes, I said your man is your
but
dad
not only that,
but
but just to change. I think that's the biggest one because he used to be very, very angry man. Like very.
Yeah. But he's definitely
You can
mellowed.
tell he hated the world. He hated just everything. Right?
He's definitely mellowed out,
Yeah.
like, as we've grown older.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a lot to get over as well, like with his dad, and he's managed to forgive him there. Like that's massive, man.
Yeah. And the biggest take from my old man is the hard work side. Like even though he didn't communicate with me, just the way that he moved himself with my siblings and my mum. Yeah, it's a big one. It's an old man.
Nice.
Yeah.
What does a meaningful life look like to you?
Tough one. I eventually want to, later in life, I want to make an impact somehow. It doesn't have to be massive or anything. It's just small. As long as I can make an impact to someone's life. And I feel like I already am through barbering sometimes. Just being an ear to some people and giving me my 2 cents. I think, yeah, just making an impact.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, just going to put it out there for the single ladies as well. My cousin has gone to an orphanage and helped. Like, you know, you did. Don't you remember? We went to Vietnam, went to an orphanage, and
Look, it is.
we gave, gave them our time, and the kids loved it, and you did that.
Yeah.
So that's impactful.
Weren't we forced into that place though?
Yes, we were, but still, we enjoyed it. The kids loved us. You were really good with the kids.
Yeah, we still.
It was a good experience.
You guys didn't have to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so just so you know, you did make a meaningful impact on those children.
Yeah.
Because I could see it when you were leaving, they were so sad. Like there's this one little boy, which I don't know if you remember, but he.
No, I don't remember much.
I'll show you a photo. Maybe
Isn't it the 2016
no,
Vietnam
this is
trip we
this
did?
is 2011.
2011.
Yeah, but I'll show you a photo.
Yeah, because I
Maybe
remember that
remember.
orphanage we went to. I
Yeah.
don't remember much. I just remember just trying to be nice and feeding kids with lollies and whatnot.
And
when we were there.
sweets, yeah. But anyway, what is your greatest accomplishment?
That's a good one too. It's nothing material. I think my greatest accomplishment was realizing or being aware of where I was. Especially in that dark time. I think my life would have been so much more different if I didn't have that epiphany at that time.
Yep.
I think whatever happened on that day, I think that was when I decided to make that shift. That was my greatest accomplishment.
It's
Because I wouldn't be where I am today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who
For I know, I
knows?
could have been in jail for. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Yeah.
Or in a ditch somewhere. So.
Or yeah, on opiates or whatever the fuck. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that would be the worst case scenario.
Do you remember what you were on that day?
Oh yeah.
You're like, I cannot
I think I popped 4 pills,
Oh my goodness.
a tab of an acid LSD, I had 3 cones, and a shit ton of rack that day.
What's that?
Coke.
Oh wow. Okay. Well,
Yeah, I was on a lot.
It was a good day.
Yeah, I was buzzing. Like I was really, really buzzing,
glad
having a good
you're
time.
Here with us and alive. I don't know.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. Even in the fights that you got out of. So
Oh my goodness. Okay,
Yeah.
well, bringing it back in a more positive note, if money didn't matter, what would your dream job be?
dream job. Financially free. That's my. Is that even the job? No.
Would you have wanted to be a tennis player?
No.
See, look, there you go.
No, that's a hard question. I wouldn't know. I think greatest job.
Thing is, you haven't been on.
I
Well,
think-
Richard thinks. What do you have?
What dream job?
Money aside.
Bloody bubble tea shop. What do you think? Look at this.
That's achievable. You just buy one.
No, because no.
I think.
Yep.
I think I'd want to have a job where I can influence youths like myself when I was in a dark place to come out in a better light.
Like a
so to
counselor,
speak. Yeah, you could say something like that.
guidance counselor at
Yeah.
school.
Something.
Like some non-for-profit where
Yeah.
it's specifically for those guys
Yeah.
who feel that they can't really go anywhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good dream job.
Yeah.
Mine's
Yeah,
actually
it's
always
definitely
been to open up an orphanage, by the way.
Say again.
Mine was always to open up an orphanage. Like, it wasn't a dream job, though. It was just like a goal in life for me. It was
Yeah.
because our parents grew up in an orphanage, and I always wanted to give back somehow, somewhere.
Yeah.
So that is not like but I wouldn't have felt like that was a job. You know, that's why when people are like, what's a dream job? I'm always like, oh no, bubble tea shop. Like,
Yeah.
but actually, like, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
How would others describe you in 3 words?
I was gonna say cunt.
Good one.
That's because that's just me saying like me being a cunt amongst my friends is like being straightforward. I'm very known for being straightforward.
Direct. Okay.
Direct. Yeah. I think direct is a big one. 3 words. That's a lot.
Okay, you're one down. You have 2 more to go.
Yeah. Frick.
How would your
Direct,
cousins
direct.
describe you?
How would you guys describe me then? I don't know from the family side. I don't know from the friend side. What I'm like.
I'd say you're pretty genuine.
Yeah.
I think in a lot of your actions.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
There you go.
You
I
go.
think I'm. Yeah. Well, with directness comes with genuineness as well.
I think you are impactful. Like you are not okay of your generation. You're not the eldest, but here in Australia, you were the second eldest. Like after me, it was you. So I do feel like whether you know or not, your younger siblings and cousins did look up to you, whether or not you knew it
suppose
or
they did,
not.
yeah.
So I think you are more impactful than you think you are. So I'm just gonna say impactful.
Okay.
Yeah,
I can take that.
cool.
Yeah.
Well, what's the one thing you would change about yourself if you could? And it doesn't have to be physically
Yeah.
either.
Yeah. It could be anything, right?
Yeah.
One thing I could change myself.
Change by yourself.
Like, sure, yeah. Could change. If I could change my height.
That's what I said.
My height. If I wasn't 5'7". Oh man, the ladies.
Just talk about the change by yourself. You talk about communication, right? Do you think you have good communication, or do you think it's something that you need to work on? Because you said that your communication with your mom and dad isn't good. So communication-wise,
So
is that
I
something?
can communicate, but on a deeper level, in terms of expression, I don't know how to properly.
Okay. Okay.
So there's certain things that I get confused about when I'm trying to really express myself, but I just can't put into words. And I think that's because of my parents,
Okay.
you know?
Yeah.
So I can, how do you explain it? Yeah. I don't know how to put it. I don't know how to express
Like,
it.
that's
Yeah,
exactly how you just
exactly,
like,
yeah, exactly
how
right. Yeah.
putting your emotions into words.
Yeah.
being able
It's
to get it
so
out.
yeah, it's sort of tough. Yeah.
Okay. What do you do to relax? Although we kind of touched on this
Just
a little bit.
game, really. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gaming.
What games do you play?
I mean, even when I'm relaxing with games, so to speak, it's still sweaty. So it's still, what I mean by sweaty means like it's still hardcore because it's like it's very
COD?
competitive still.
What, like COD or something?
No, like you got Tekken. I've been playing Tekken since day. Yeah, you got Tekken. Then you got Apex, which is another like FPS game.
Richard was really good at Tekken. Like I remember going to Time Zone and he'd just be like there
I'll be
on the
there in
machines,
the corner
like
the whole time.
like I'm like, shouldn't you be at uni? I'm like, shouldn't you be studying right now? He's like, no, it's just like Tekken. That explains a lot. Would you be willing to put that aside if you had a girlfriend though? That's not a question. That's just me putting it out there.
Sacrifices.
Sacrifices. you know?
I think that's a very situational kind of question. That's very situational. But also if I wanted a girlfriend, I want a girl to accept that side of me is me time. Like for me to actually replenish my energy and just feel, you know what I mean? When you burnt out, you would know when you burnt out, you need your own alone time to sort of, you know what I mean? Yeah, you need the alone time. So my alone time is me just
Yeah.
in priceless gaming, movies, just on my own, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's
TV. it's all
yeah,
good.
I think that's a part of my introvert nature. Yeah.
Okay. Describe your last question. Describe your perfect day. What would your perfect day look like? Doesn't have to include
No,
work.
I think like something like yesterday.
What
You know,
was
just being
yesterday?
around with, families, obviously friends would be nice as well, but that's a pretty damn good day. Yesterday was a pretty damn good day.
Yeah.
Just seeing family and stuff like that.
I know. I love
Yeah.
our family. Sorry.
Yeah, we're playing all like it's great that we all can connect. We're all playing sport. Like all the males, we're all playing sport. You know,
Even your dad was out there playing
even my dad was
volleyball.
playing sport. You know, yeah, it's
Yeah.
awesome. Like
Yeah.
you can't beat that. Like I think
Yeah.
that's really good.
I think that's the one thing that I'm grateful for is for our family. How
Yeah.
close we are. And it helps that we're all similar ages
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that we're also close. Like, we're close enough.
Yeah,
Like, it's like we don't have to talk to each other for like ages, but then when we see each other, it's like
so
everyone.
it's all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it helps when you come from a really big family. But
I gotta say, like, that's one thing I don't want to say envious, that's not the word, but I'm really jealous of you guys to have cousins similar age. So I've got like 30 cousins or whatever, but my closest
That's good.
cousin, unfortunately, passed away, and he was like 6 years older than me. And then the next one's probably 10 or 11 years older. It's like I have no cousins near
In your age group.
Yeah.
and then you come to our family and there's like 8 of you
Like
guys
6
all the
guys
same
of the same
age.
age.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. So you guys do have that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, any shout outs before we wrap up?
not really.
Roningrooming.
See, I don't really care when it comes to that kind of stuff, but
Just put it out there.
yeah,
I mean-
if anyone wants a haircut, come to Roningrooming
Therapy session.
therapy sessions.
You know,
Just
wanna
please don't be too deep because I don't want to hear it sometimes.
if you wanna, you know, maybe don't really want a haircut, but you just want to check out my cousin, ladies, Roningrooming.
Plenty of other things to see as well there, I'm sure.
Say again.
So there's plenty of other things to see around there as
Yeah.
well.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
the
If you're so
gym.
inclined.
What, at the gym?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
man. Thanks a lot, man. Like, obviously, it's been a
you're
long
good.
time coming.
Yeah,
Appreciate
yeah,
you putting the time
Nah,
aside.
you're a good
So
man. Cheers, bro.
see you in a few weeks to cut my hair anyway.
Yeah.
So. Thanks, man.